Welcome to online class. Myself, Dr. Girish, Associate Professor from Department of Commerce, Christ Deemed to be University, Bangalore. Today, I will be taking session on Business Policy and Environment of first semester Mcom program, Karnataka State Open University, covering the block 4, the units like 13, 14, 15 and 16. Unit 13, Introduction to Corporate Governance. Unit 14, Committees and Authorities on Corporate Governance. Unit 15, Chief Executive Officer and Corporate Governance. And Unit 16, Board Committee. Unit 13, Introduction to Corporate Governance, which has the subtopics like Introduction, meaning and definition of corporate governance, concept of corporate governance, origin of corporate governance, need for corporate governance, separation of ownership and management, stakeholders' interest, ethics and social responsibilities, importance of corporate governance and different models of corporate governance. The meaning of corporate governance, the system of rules, practices and process by which a company is directed and controlled is called as corporate governance, and it identifies who has power and accountability and who makes decision in any corporates, and that is what we call it as corporate governance in nutshell. There are different definitions given by different authors. Some of the quotes are: corporate governance describes the way trust is shown, power exercised and accountability achieved in corporate entities for the benefit of their members and other stakeholders and society, which is one of the famous, the quote or the definition given by one of the author, that is Bob Tricker, The Future Corporate Governance, A Personal Odyssey 2022. The origin of corporate governance. The origin and evaluation of corporate governance in India have been shaped by the country's unique economic, cultural and legal environment, which has way back from pre-independence era, post-independence era from the year 1947 to 1991, economic liberalization in the year 1991, 1996 by Confederation of Indian Industries Code. Then in the year 2000, Task Force on Corporate Excellence. In the year 2003, Naresh Chandra Committee, and 2004, Narayan Murthy Committee. So from pre-independence era, during this time corporate governance was largely influenced by British colonial rules and practices. Post-independence, that is 1947 to till the liberalization 1991, the government played a significant role in regulating the business, often with a socialist approach. And in the year 1991, when we introduced the LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization, a major turning point in India's economy policy, the government introduced reforms to open up the economy, reduce regulations and encourage foreign investment. This shift had a significant impact on how businesses operated and were governed. And in the year 1996 until 2004, these 4 milestones from 1996 and 2004 represents a progressive series of initiatives by both industries and government to establish, refine and strengthen corporate governance standards in India, evolving from voluntary codes to more comprehensive recommendations that shape subsequent regulation practices. And the origin of corporate governance, especially from the year 2004 onwards, so it has played very significant role for all the corporate entities. So in the year 2009, because of Satyam scandal, in the year 2013, introduction of New Companies Act, in 2015, listing obligations and disclosure requirements regulations, and recent developments. And in the year 2009, we are very much familiar, that is Satyam scandal, plays very vital role for introduction of stringent corporate governance, exposed significant weakness in India's corporate governance system, led to increased scrutiny of corporate practices, prompted reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. And there are some of the recent development which has taken place, like further regulatory updates, adoption of global best practices, then integration of technology in governance, that is nothing but by going with e-voting, one of the famous example that which we can remember, then increased focus on ESG, that is environmental, social and governance factors. Corporate governance in India timeline. Way back 1988, SEBI was formed to regulate the security market. In 1992, the SEBI was given the statutory status that after Arshad Mehta case, and in the year 1997, CII accepted there is a need to strengthen the corporate governance in India. In 2006, Narayan Murthy committee recommended the strengthening of corporate governance, and in the year 2013, New Companies Act was introduced and to strengthen the corporate governance, and in the year 2017, Kotak Mahindra committee recommended to strengthen the corporate governance. These are some of the need for corporate governance to protect the shareholders' interest, attracting foreign investments, preventing corporate scandals, improving operational efficiency, addressing the corruptions, managing diverse stakeholders' interest, enhancing transparency, strengthening capital market, adapting to global standards, addressing family business challenges, technology adoptions and environmental and social responsibilities. The separation of ownership and management. The separation of ownership and management is common in large public corporations where it is not feasible for hundreds of shareholders to directly manage the company. While this separation provides benefits like professional management and capital utilization, it also creates agency problems. These are some of the stakeholder interest in corporate governance, like customers, employees, shareholders, communities, suppliers, board of directors, auditors, government, creditors and board of directors. Ethics in corporate governance. One is integrity. This is the foundation of ethical corporate governance. It implies honesty, adherence to moral and ethical principles, and consistency in actions and decisions. Transparency in operations and finances. This principle emphasizes the importance of clear, accurate, and timely disclosure of information about the company's operation and financial status. Transparency helps build trust with the stakeholders like shareholders, employees and the general public. It involves providing comprehensive and understandable financial reports, disclosing potential conflicts of interest. Accountability for action taken. The organization must be answerable for their decisions and actions in corporate governance. This applies to board members, executives and employees at all levels in the company. It involves taking responsibility for outcomes, both positive and negatives. So, it being willing to face consequences for one's action. Fairness to all. This principle emphasizes equitable treatment to all stakeholders, including minority shareholders, employees, customers and community. It involves ensuring that all parties have equal opportunities and that decision making process are unbiased and justified. Respecting the interest. This refers to acknowledging and considering the legitimate interest of all stakeholders in corporate decision making. It involves balancing the needs of various groups such as shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, and broader community. These are the social responsibilities in corporate governance. One is ethics practices in business, environmental stewardship, employee welfare, community engagement, and stakeholders consideration. The first is ethical business practices. Integrity and transparency. Companies should operate with honesty and openness, ensuring that their business dealings are conducted ethically, that they are transparent with stakeholders. Anti-corruption measures, implementing strict policies against bribery, corruption, and unethical behavior to ensure fair practices. Environmental stewardship, so sustainable practices like practicing the minimize environmental impact, such as reducing the waste, conserving energy, and using sustainable materials in the organization. Climate action, setting targets to reduce carbon emissions, and investing in renewable energy resources. Employee welfare measures, fair labor practices, ensuring fair wages, safe working conditions, and respect for workers' rights. Diversity and inclusion, promoting a diverse and inclusive workplace where all employees feel valued and have equal opportunities. Community engagement, the local support, engaging with supporting local communities through charitable donations, volunteer programs, and local partnerships. Social initiatives like investing in projects that address social issues such as education and healthcare. Stakeholders consideration, balanced decision making, considering the interest of all stakeholders in an organization such as shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, and the community when making business decision. Open communication, maintaining open lines of communication with stakeholders to address their concerns and feedbacks. The importance of corporate governance. The corporate governance is important because it creates system of rules and practices that determines how company operates and how it aligns with the interest of all its stakeholders, which covers good corporate governance fosters ethical business practices which lead to financial viability, in turn that can attract good investors. Corporate governance models, there are different models which the company follows. First is the Anglo-American model, then the second one is continental model, and the last one is Japanese model. The first Anglo-American model of corporate governance prioritize shareholders' interest and value maximization, emphasizing market-based control mechanism and a single tier board structure. And the second continental model in corporate governance emphasize stakeholders' interest with two-tier board structure and significant employee representation, typically found in European countries like Germany and France. And the third is Japanese model of corporate governance, traditionally emphasizes long-term relationship, stakeholders' interest, and collective decision making over short-term shareholders to maximize their value.